When is it too rough to go offshore? This is a question that beginners ask all the time, Professor, and it's a tricky thing. I know when you were training me, this guy trained me to go offshore in my Steiger, and it was like, I was looking at wave heights, and I was looking at periods, and I was looking at wind, and it was all very confusing. So in this video, we're gonna break it down with this man right here and try to give you a very clear sense of when it is too rough. And of course, the answer is always, it depends.
Right.
Right?
A lot of factors.
a lot of factors. All right, so let's talk about these factors. Wind speed, let's make that number one here, Professor. And again, I know this is gonna vary. So everything here has basically like an asterisk next to it in this video as we're describing this. But what would you say for wind speed? Beginner comes to you, what do you think?
Well, of course, it all hinges on your size of boat.
Yep.
You know, that's the number one factor. And how your boat performs in rough weather and how far you gotta go and stuff like that. But wind speed, that is a very good question. But what's more important than wind speed is wind direction.
Okay, yeah.
That is like my number one thing that I look at. Of course, speed comes along with it, but direction is the main thing. Here in Oregon Inlet, on an easterly wind, we have to fight the bar to get out.
Right.
And then you had to go to the east, so it's all head sea. You know what I mean? You're
Not good.
Going southeast, northeast, or due east.
So hypothetically, you could have a fishable day offshore, like here at Oregon Inlet, but if it's too stacked up in the inlet itself because of the easterly wind, it could prevent you from going out.
Correct. You might not be able to cross the bar, especially if it's ebb tide.
Right.
Which that means that the tide's going out, the waves are coming in,
Not
pushing
good.
against each other on a shallow area of bottom.
Yeah. So if someone is, what would you say, at least East Coast wise, what are the favorable directions and not so favorable? Anything with east, not favorable?
No, not favorable.
Okay.
Light east winds is okay, but anything over 15, I don't particularly care to fish in.
Okay, so if it's east, it's over 15, we're probably not doing it.
Probably not.
Okay. And a lot of the wind direction during the summertime is southwest, and that's like the magic, like, and I'm guessing that's because that's flowing, the wind is flowing in the same direction as the Gulf Stream.
Correct.
And so everything just settles out nice there.
Yeah, somewhat the same direction. But anything south, southwest, west, northwest is all pretty good to go fishing.
Right.
You know, here where we are. But like I say, every afternoon here during the summer in the Outer Banks, it blows pretty much 15 to 20 out of the southwest every afternoon.
Right.
But even in the southwest winds, that's 20 or 25, we can still fish because all we have to do is come out of the inlet, hang a right, skirt the beach down a ways, and then we can cut right out. And all the seas are right there on your stern, going to wherever you're fishing.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Yes.
So you can go in some pretty nasty southwest stuff. And you just have to troll in it all day. And a lot of times, southwest, once you get into the current where you're going to be fishing, like the Gulf Stream or somewhere near the Gulf Stream, thereabout, you know, it'll actually be calmer in the current because the wind and the currents move in the same direction.
Right.
Now, that's where a northerly wind could screw you. It could be a light north wind, and it could be bucking that current and really stand up and make it rough. I mean, I can't tell you how many days, you know, you're in the cooler water on the cold side of the change, and it's, you know, pretty calm and flat, but as soon as you cross over into the current, it's stood up and nasty.
Right. So you got to be aware of a variety of factors here, and obviously a lot of it depends on where you are in the world. So this whole concept of period versus height, can you talk about that for those that are not very familiar with it?
Yeah, and that's a tricky subject to figure out too. I mean, people think about a 5 foot wave. Oh, 5 foot's not very tall. If it's spread out, you know, you don't even notice it. But 5 foot at 5 seconds is rough.
It's very rough.
Very, very rough. 5 foot at 10 seconds is a beautiful day. You know, it's just a big, gradual swell, you know. And so that's you really got to be careful. The longer the wave period, the better. And of course, the shorter the wave height, the better too. And another factor is you got to look which way the seas are coming. You know what I mean? And where are you going to be fishing? Are you going to be fishing in the current? You know, there's a lot of factors you got to think about. And it really all depends, too, on the mariner's experience.
Right.
Whether they've been before, or whether their crew has been before, you know. And
I know that's one thing that you ask a lot of our charter guests is, okay, who do we got? What's their experience? What's your tolerance? Or somebody that might not be as nimble,
That's
that,
right.
you know, because you're going to get pushed around a little bit.
That's right.
So everybody is different in that regard. And in conjunction with this, you will fish on days during commercial season that you would never take a customer out on.
Oh, 100%. Several different factors for reasoning for that is we're in no rush to go anywhere.
Right.
It doesn't matter if we're making 10, 12, 15 knots to go and there's nobody but me and Short White Doug on here. You know what I mean? So
right.
if we get a little beat up, it's no big deal. I worry about my charter guests. I want them to be comfortable and happy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, what's interesting about that is we get a lot of that bad wind direction during those that bluefin period, January, February, and so we have a lot more cancellations of you know, blow days basically. Whereas in the summertime, you might see an entire week's, you know, is west southwest, you know, in that general direction.
Yeah, you could fish a whole month and not get blown out. You know what I mean? But in the wintertime like that, typically you have northerly winds, northeasterly winds, and the cool air coming down, and that's what really makes, you know, for rough sea conditions. Yeah,
and obviously the type of boat it really is a big factor here, because you've got, you know, center consoles, you've got basically, you know, what is a sports boat, and you've got the express versus the convertible, and all these are factors. Any just general suggestions for that class of center console that's less than 30 feet? Because you were right there before. I mean, you had a 30-footer. You had a stopping point. What was your general stopping point back in the day?
I mean, I probably pressed the envelope a little.
Sure, I'm sure you did.
In my rig, but it's hard to say. Rule of thumb is I didn't go in anything over 4 to 8. Because it all depending on the wind direction.
Yes.
You know what I mean? In the dominant period of the wave. But, you know, it again boils down to what you're comfortable with and your crew. I mean, there is plenty of 30-foot center consoles out there that are very seaworthy and can be out there in 8-foot seas. Now, an 8-foot sea that's 7 seconds apart, no, you don't want to be out there in that. But, you know, those 3 to 5 days where you've got a dominant wave period of 8 to 10 to 12 seconds, that's beautiful. Yeah, that's a green light, go.
Yeah, and you take a day like we fished today, which was so interesting to me. It says 3 to 4, 3 to 5, but it felt flat out there today. Yeah. Wind direction was perfect, and it just felt so nice. I mean,
but then if you notice when we picked up to come home,
it was still
choppier, calm, but we were moving in
and
a
you could see the swells.
You could see the swells all day. We were fishing. We're moving at a slower speed,
so you can't see it.
You didn't even hardly notice them. You were just going up and down it. But when we were coming home, we were doing about 23 knots. And, you know, they were quartering to our bow, and you know, you could tell that they were there.
That's it. Yeah. That's it. So one last question on this is what do you use? NOAA, windy, fish weather? Like what are the ones that you use to make sure that you're getting the best, essentially, forecast for the waves and for the wind?
Mainly I use 2 of them. I use Windy, which is an app you get on your phone.
Yeah.
And I think there is a free version, but I pay for a subscription and I use that. It's pretty daggone reliable. It tells you the wave height, wave period all day long, wind direction, wind speed. It even tells you whether it's going to rain, the current. It is a whole list of stuff that you can use on that app, and I probably don't utilize the majority of it. But then I also use NOAA weather.
Do you mainly pay attention to the 25 or the 100 nautical mile forecast? Because we're often somewhere in that 30 to 40 range out, so it's tricky.
The 20 is what I mainly pay attention to, because that's what we're doing most of our traveling in, that 20 miles. And outside of that, we've got another 10 to 15 miles to travel. But then I also glance at what it is from 20 to 100 nautical miles. And it can fool you sometimes, because there could be a low or something offshore and could be throwing, you know, some sea conditions out 100 nautical miles, but you might not even get those in there 35 nautical miles offshore. You just you got to compare it all, you know, compare all the apps and the wave height, wind direction, and all that. And the best thing to do is call somebody. I had somebody call me last week, didn't know me from Adam, but they watch our channel, and he said, "Hey Cap, I hate to bother you," he said, "but what's your thoughts on the weather tomorrow?" You know what I mean?
That's great.
And I was like, "What kind of boat you got?" And I can't remember. He said, "Look at 27." I said, "Tomorrow is your day. You better go tomorrow." Well, I said, "It's gonna blow a little bit tomorrow afternoon." I said, "But you know, the majority of the day is gonna be pretty."
Yeah.
know? So call somebody that knows. You know, and then keep mental records of how it is that day with the wind direction. You know, how much it sucked to go back and forth. You know what I mean? And how your boat did. So it just experience is the main thing.
That's right. Experience. Know your boat, know your crew. Got some pretty good tips there from the professor. I know I'm still learning this, and for you beginners out there, there's always tomorrow, and so you don't need to overdo it, you know?
One thing too, the weatherman is not always right. He was
very
wrong
true.
Last Saturday.
That's very true.
Don't be scared to turn around and come back. It doesn't make you any less of a man.
That's exactly right. Well, hopefully you enjoyed this episode, and hopefully you're going to have some incredible fishing yourself out there in your boat, or come on our boat. You can visit our website, speechlesssportfishing.com. We appreciate your support. The community that we're building is pretty incredible, and put your comments in the comments section. If you got questions, let us know. Until the next time, everyone, stay salty.